USTEC 100, which is popularly known as the NASDAQ. And in fact, I have a tremendous two sell positions running at this particular point in time, which is giving us a signal that we are likely going to be seeing a sell-off in this market after such a long time. Remember, this market has been on a very strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the year, and it appears we're beginning to see sellers gradually come into this market. So let's look at things from an holistic standpoint, and let's see what led to my decisions here on the 1 hour time frame. Now, we are going to be scaling up into the daily time frame where I was able to, I think we've been talking about this for a long time, as you will see on the daily time frame that the trend is obviously very bullish. And in fact, we have a couple of ascending trend lines here after connecting the series of higher lows to emphasize the bullish momentum in this particular market. However, something interesting happened last week. I think the later part of last week, even there was a build up even into last week's trading session, as you will see that since price action tested that high at the 15,950 area in the month of July. Since that moment, we have seen a nosedive to the downside, which is characterized by lower highs, giving me this descending trend line we have here. And this momentum we see here has gradually been pushing price to the downside, which has finally led to the breakdown of that ascending trend line for the first time this year. And with the breakdown of this ascending trend line, we are likely going to be seeing a sell-off go on at this point in time. But we are not going to be jumping into conclusions from a long-term perspective here, as we will need to see some confirmation that really convinces us that we do want to be selling the USTEC 100. Now, to make things easier for us to capitalize on the next move, we do want to be having our key level, which is currently situated at the 14,500 area, as you will see here. Now, there is one peculiar thing about this key level since the month of June, as you will see that since price broke above this key level in the month of June, it has consistently become a platform for buying opportunities. Look at what happened here in the month of June. We saw buy pressure here. We saw how it has always been difficult for sellers to break through this area. Fast forward to the month of August, the same thing happened, buy pressure. Look at what happened here in the month of September. Despite the lower highs, we saw buy pressure resume around that area. The same thing at the beginning of this month, and right now, after price has broken down that ascending trend line for the first time this year, we can see that price is back into that 14,500. Now, with the information we have right now, you would agree with me that we are at a crucial juncture in this market where, depending on what happens around this area, will determine if we are truly going to the downside or not. Now, before we scale down into the 1 hour time frame where we want to see how participants in the market has been reacting to this key level, we also want to take into consideration that buyers could come in at some point with a short-term view to retrace back into the ascending trend line that was broken to inside the downtrend scenario. So we are going to be taking all this into consideration. So if we see buy pressure here, we know that we have a minimum of about 350 pips to catch, with the expectation of a retracement into the ascending trend line before the downtrend continuation happens. And in fact, if we see price break down the 14,500 retest structure, then this is obviously going to be a beautiful confirmation to join the downtrend. Now, with the information we have here on the daily time frame, let's scale down to the 4 hours time frame and see what is really going on here. Okay, still the same thing, nothing really. So let's run down into the 1 hour time frame to see how participants have been reacting to this current structure. So during the early hours of today, while I was trying to dissect the current market structure, this is what I was able to come up with. So at the beginning of the week, we saw this range where price was initially confined within the 14,615 level. and the 14,545 area, though the week started with a bullish note, but as soon as price tested that 14,615, we begin to notice selling pressure resume around that area, making that zone a resistant line for this particular range. And of course, you know how we do it in this community. As soon as we spot an indecisive phase like this where price transitions into a range, we want to exercise patience and wait for a signal to come, either in the form of a breakout retest of the 14,615 to join an uptrend situation, or the breakdown retest of the support line to incite a selling opportunities. Now, you see what happened here about a couple of hours ago. Price finally broke down that 15,045 level. 14,545 level. Price came back to retest the structure, and since that moment price has been dropping to the downside, and in fact we just witnessed an engulfing bearish candle slicing through our key level at the 14,500 to make a statement that sellers are getting stronger at this point in time. So currently I have two positions running at this particular point in time, and if you are taking advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for capitalizing on this move. However, if you missed out on this one, it's okay. The week is still very early, and we need to exercise patience and wait for new structures to emerge to guide our next decisions at this point in time. However, for those who are taking advantage of this sell position right now, I will be advising you at this juncture to move all stop losses above the second entry zone between the 14,500 and the 14,530. Secure this position while you keep in mind that you do want to be given enough room for price action to breathe. Now, with a well secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action? Well, first of all, it's obvious that sellers are gradually dictating the pace since the week has started, as we have seen price break down that crucial 14,500 zone, which has been a formidable demand zone in the last 3 to 4 months. Now, with the situation we have here, we all know that from a technical standpoint, when price breaks down key structures such as the 14,545 and the 14,500 level, we expect that some point in time price may come back, retest any of the structure. It could go as far as this or this area, but most importantly, we want to see signs that buyers are not finding it easy to climb back into that channel we identified earlier, and this would reflect on the chart as selling pressure leading into a situation that will incite a downtrend continuation. So for those of us who had missed out on these selling opportunities, let's wait and see if the market will present new opportunities in the form of a retest of the zone between the 15,545 and the 14,500 area. So let's see if the market will retrace back into that area. So that is one perspective we are going to be looking at for today as regards the USTEC 100. Now, the second scenario that could happen here is if price decides not to go back into structure and retest it, that is, the selling pressure was so strong that price does not go back into that area, then we might likely be seeing a consolidation phase around this area where price transitions into either a falling wedge or a bearish rectangle pattern where the breakdown of this lowest point will incite a downtrend scenario. Now, to make things easier for us, I would like to mark out the support line of this range, which I think should fall around this area. So let's look at what this looks like when we bring out our candle chart. Okay, so we have something like this. So let's use the 14,430. Let's mark out that area. So you do want to be doing that on your chart right now, as we will be needing it as a reference point to guide more selling opportunities in this particular market. So that's the lowest point price action has been for this week. We might likely be seeing price do some consolidation phase if it refuses to retrace back into structure, and it might transition into something like this, breakdown, retest to incite a sell-off. So everything at this juncture in the market is screaming bearish at this point in time. So we are holding on to a bearish bias based on the current market structure we are seeing right now. However, in as much as we're looking out for selling opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the opposite direction too as well. Now, what are the potentials that the buyers have in this market, and what is it that we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable changing our bias from bearish to bullish? Well, like I said earlier, there are still chances that price could retrace back into structure to incite a downtrend scenario. Now, if price will retrace back into structure, and in fact while it's doing the retracement, it consistently finds higher highs and higher lows, this will be a very good signal that buyers are gradually gaining momentum. But we will need it to climb back above the support line of the range we identified earlier, that is this range between the 14,615 and 14,545 area. Now, if price climbs above that range and it becomes difficult for sellers to drop below that structure, and we begin to see buy pressure around this area, then we would want to get ready to join an uptrend situation as price action is back above the 14,500 area. Now, if this happens, it might even drop into the structure before the uptrend continuation happens. We do want to be part of a bullish opportunity there. And if price continues to the upside, taking out the resistance line for this week at the 14,615, then we do want to be adding more buy position. But as it is right now, everything is looking very bearish. But one thing I would like us to take note is that remember what we saw on the daily time frame, where we talked about the potential of a retracement back into the ascending trend line. So for the sake of clarity, let me show you one more time so that we can all be on the same page. So we saw the ascending trend line here broken down for the first time this year. And like I said, when price break down a key structure, we are likely going to be seeing price retrace back into structure, which lines up with that descending trend line to incite a bearish move, which of course we calculated to be around 350 to 400 pips to catch there. So if we see this kind of higher highs and higher lows on the lower time frame leading into that climbing back above the support line of the range we identified on the 1 hour time frame, then we might likely be seeing the beginning of a retracement back into the ascending trend line that was broken to the downside on the daily time frame. So let's see how this will play out for today. If price climbs back above, then we do want to be getting ready to buy. Then a breakout of the 14,615 will be a very strong signal that price is retracing back into the ascending trend line that was broken. So let's see how this is going to play out. You do want to be marking out these levels on the chart right now as we continue to monitor price action. So I do not know if you have any questions. If you do, feel free to drop them in the comment section. Trust me, I am here and willing to be of help in that regard.